So, good morning to everyone. Again, you all are most welcome. Saturday, in fact, due to say technical issues all over India. I was told it was not only in Chandigarh; it was all over India. Maybe because of congestion of the internet, because a lot of probably webinars were going on. So anyway, I most welcome all of you again. So today's topic, in fact, though it's supposed to be delivered on 5th, but let us consider today is 5th itself, because it can be celebrated maybe for even for a week or so. So the rethinking to rebuilding, stepping towards environment, sustainability, and ecosystem services. Though the topic is very vast, but I'll try to speak in a very comprehensive manner, so that student also they can get some say information, and also by senior colleagues like say Professor Khare and others. Okay, they do not get bored. Uh, so anyway, as the global community is called to re-examine our relationship to the natural world. Okay, so why it is actually the term re-examine our relationship to the natural world? Uh, Re-examination is only done when there is some issues. Okay, so it means there are some issues with our relationship, okay, with the environment. Okay, and that's why, okay, we have to re-examine many of the say issues those are affecting our relationship with natural world, or we can say the natural ecosystems. Okay, so through this, in fact, one thing is very clear, and one thing is very in fact certain, that despite all our technological advances, we are completely dependent on healthy and vibrant ecosystem for many resources. Those are very, very essential for our survival, like say water, food, medicine, clothes, fuel, shelter, and energy. And of course, like say during this era, in fact, there was a lot of hue and cry about the oxygen. Okay, so these are only a few. There are many, many. Okay, countless. Okay, we may not be able to, in fact, narrate all of them. So to get all those advantages or the benefits, in fact, we have to have a healthy ecosystem, and that healthy ecosystem only can enhance people livelihoods, counteract climate change, and stop the collapse of biodiversity. So that is, in fact, the theme of today's talk, in fact. Okay, so like say, for many decades, in fact, we have been exploiting and destroying our, say, planet's ecosystems, whether, say, forest, whether the wetlands, whether the grassland, or the, say, aquatic ecosystem, freshwater or marine. Okay, so in nutshell, we can say, like say, every 3 seconds, the world loses enough forest cover a football pitch, and over the last century, we have destroyed half of our wetlands. Okay, so normally, wetlands are not given much emphasis, but these wetlands are considered just like a kidney. Okay, just like a kidney, very, very important. So since 1974, World Environment Day has been celebrated every year on 5th June, engaging government, business, citizens, okay, in an effort to address pressing environmental issues. Okay, so of course it should not be like say just though it is a sort of say festival, okay, but it should not remain as a festival. It should be translated in in the reality. So World Environment Day offers a global platform for inspiring positive change. Okay, so it pushes for individuals to think about the way they consume. So here, actually, Environment Day is not only, or World Environment Day is not only for the environmentalist. In fact, it link with, in fact, it requires the attention of every citizen from every sphere, like say for businesses to develop green models, for farmers and manufacturers to produce more sustainability, for governments to invest in repairing the environment, for educators to inspire students to take action, and for youth to build a greener future. In fact, being, say, academician, educators, or the researchers, we have lot of responsibility on our soldiers. Okay, we have to, like say, train the students, okay, and also trained, say, the other citizens, okay, and tell them, okay, what is the importance of the, say, healthy environment. So since the pandemic disrupted normal lives, the most important thing that will perhaps have very far-reaching impact in the breakdown in the relationship between human systems and the natural systems. Now, even say a layman, okay, though in fact they are much wiser than us, okay. Now everyone has realized, okay, the importance of the relationship of human being with the different kinds of the ecosystems, okay, because of this ongoing pandemic, okay. So sometimes actually such disasters, they give the lesson to us, okay. So the UNEP campaign, like say reimagine, recreate, restore, focuses on reversing the degradation of our ecosystem to a healthier ecosystems. Okay, so the theme for World Environment Day 2021 is the ecosystem restoration. Ecosystem restoration. So ecosystem restoration means preventing, halting, and reversing the damage caused by human activities, and finally healing our nature. So that is in fact the meaning of the ecosystem restoration. Okay, so this World Environment Day will see the launch of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Okay, so probably this is going to be launched. Okay, so let us start to rethink why we should be concerned about environment. Okay, so already in fact we started at the larger scale to rethinking about this issue. So environmental protection is one of the basic prerequisites for the overall development of any country in the world. So like say, if economic growth and development are to be established, and I think, and you all will agree with me that every country, okay, in fact, want to get developed, okay. So for that purpose, biodiversity must be conserved if really we want to develop in terms of economic growth and also in a healthier society. When modern humans emerged, say around say 20 thousands years ago, okay, no, 2 lakhs years ago, changes happened slowly and over relatively small geographical scale because population was less, okay, and requirements were less. Peoples were not greedy. But now change is fast, fueled by rapid population growth and advancing technologies. Okay, so then in that case, this can be called as a human-dominated ecosystems. Rather, we can say we have entered in an Anthropocene. Anthropocene means, like say, the humans are trying to control the ecosystems. Okay, influencing the ecosystems. So these human-dominated ecosystems, normally we think that, like say, we are concentrating much more on, say, agriculture or farm fields. It's not that only, okay? Rather, entire planet is being dominated by the, say, human activities. So the ecological footprints of modern society is huge. The result is global ecological disruption and biotic improvement. Okay, so that is actually the result. Means whatever say we are facing a degraded ecosystem and so many which is related to many say ecological issues and problems. Okay, that is the in fact result of this ecological footprint, the increasing ecological footprint of the modern human society. So environmental degradation, what does it mean? Say every year we extract an estimated, say, around 55 million tons of fossil energy, minerals, metals, and biomass from the earth. And ultimately, what is happening? The world has already lost 80% of its forest, and we are continually being losing them at the rate of 375 square kilometer per day. That really very say huge quantity. So at the current rate of deforestation, 5 to 10% of tropical forest species will become extinct every decade. Okay, so every hour 1,692 acres of productive dry land become desert. 27% of our coral reef have been destroyed. If the rate continues, remaining 60% will be gone by say within 30 years. Okay, so we have a garbage island floating in our ocean, mostly comprised of plastic that you can say the size of India, Europe, and Mexico combined is very huge. Okay, plastic garbage is floating in, say, our oceans. So we are using up 50% of nature resources than the earth can provide. It means at our current population, we need 1.5 Earths. 1.5 Earths, okay, which we do not have. Because we cannot increase the area of the Earth planet. Okay, we can't. That is constant. Okay, so so what we have to do, in fact, we have to curb. Okay, we have to control our population. We have to control our, say, curb our requirements. So we have to be in that way sustainable. Okay, so you can see these are, say, sort of destruction of forest, and ultimately what is, say, human activity, in fact, eroding the world's ecological foundations like terrestrial ecosystem, ocean ecosystems, and ultimately the species. So ecosystem for resilience in the face of disaster and climate change. So resilience means there are in fact two processes in, say, in balancing the ecosystem, that is resilience and the resistance. Okay, so resistance means to just resist whatever against the disturbance. Resilience means it is a sort of recovery power. Okay, means after say to certain frequency or intensity of say disturbance, ecosystem have the capability to recover it. Okay, but if say this disturbances are say occurring or reoccurring again and again, okay, and say in a severe manner, then this power of recovery, which is called say resilience of any ecosystem, in fact, it in fact over power by the say the capacity, okay, capacity. So tolerance range, okay. So in that case, okay, so each and every ecosystem, okay, I am not going to mention what are say what are those disturbances, okay. So in that way, if we have to restore the ecosystem, okay, then we have to go, we have to manage the ecosystems and retain their resilience power, okay. So we have to go for a sustainable management, okay. So these sustainable management of natural resources, okay, can therefore play a critical role in people's ability to prevent, cope with, and recover from the disasters, from the disturbances. So the state of the climate in 2021, like say CO2 level is ever increasing, okay, and say there is a temperature is again increasing at the record level, okay, because of many processes, okay. El Nino and La Nina, okay, all these, La Nina in fact somehow, okay, balance the increasing say temperature, okay, and say Arctic ice that is in fact melting, okay, because of increased temperature, and increased temperature for so many reasons, like say burning of the forest, okay, rather declining of the green cover, and so, okay. So then permafrost, and this permafrost, in fact, that is the process, okay, in the temperate condition or in say Arctic or alpine region where there is a permanent, in fact, say frosting, okay, of the cover of the say frozen cover. And in fact, this frozen cover, okay, it may be in a 1 meter thick or maybe more than that, okay. And this in fact, this stored a large quantity of carbon dioxide. And once it melted, then it releases the methane and other greenhouse gases. And ultimately, okay, the warming up is taking place. So permafrost, they are in fact very, very important. And in Arctic region, in fact, they are declining. And they are declining and ultimately contributing again to the warming up, okay, to the global warming. So we can see how, say, the Arctic region has been warming up, okay, at the time scale. And then forest. Since 1990, the world has lost 178 million hectares of forest. Means you can say an area equivalent to the size of the Libya. Over the past 3 decades, the rate of deforestation has slowed, but experts say it is not fast enough, given the vital role forests play in curbing the global warming. Okay, so like say in 2015 to say 20, the annual deforestation rate was 10 million hectares. You can say about the size of Ireland, compared to 12 million hectares in the previous 5 years. So a bit it is declined, okay, the deforestation rate, but it's not enough. okay, still we have to, like say, at different level means we have to work on. So that's, we can say that in different say reason how the say there is a declining, okay, in the earth biodiversity. So this this is from say Arunachal Pradesh, where which you can say in the country the most richest in terms of biodiversity, lot of say species, and because of road widening and some other activities, okay, the rich forests are being say they are destroyed, okay, and just you can say the this video. So this video, in fact, is provided one of my students who did MSc and PhD from the NERIS, Dr. Tasi Tungan. So I acknowledge this uh, his support. Okay, so in fact, you can say how really serious the issue is of different activities, sacrificing very say virgin forest, very rich forest. Just see the say this is the forest fire recently took place in the Mizoram in southern Lunglei area, which is again is very rich in the forest. Okay, and this forest fire reaches to the cities. Okay, again, this a clip you can say. Okay. And you might have seen in the previous slide that say there was a petrol pump, okay, and luckily the fire has been say controlled. Otherwise, would have been very serious say hazards. So anyway, and this is say these areas like say they are humid areas where earlier, in fact, the fire was not up in that. Though it happened, okay, because of safety cultivation, sometimes fire escape from the safety cultivation to the natural forest, okay, but it was never like say to this extent. So it means the forests are maybe getting dried up, or maybe for some other reason, okay, the fire might have been taking place. Okay, so there are some issues, okay, which here of course may not be disclosed. Okay, so anyway, biodiversity loss is a major concern. Okay, So why is biodiversity important? So we all know that without biodiversity, in fact, our survival is not possible. So we get the say all sort of our requirement from the biodiversity. Say maybe the food, shelter, oxygen, okay, soil, and say maybe many other things. Okay, so even the medicines. Okay, we all get from the say from the biodiversity. So we can't imagine the life without the biodiversity. So like say in rural areas, okay, in rural areas, say say biodiversity, biodiversity is very important because say in even say in tribal areas, so 80 to 90% in fact food in terms of vegetable or so is come from the natural ecosystems. So from a human perspective, biodiversity has a say, lot of benefits for us. Okay, of course, here in fact sitting in say our offices with fitted with the ACs or so. Okay, maybe we can just see the biodiversity of wildlife on television and our computers. Okay, but let us say biodiversity in fact contribute at least 40% to the world economy and 80% to the needs of the poor. And millions of people depend on biodiversity for their day-to-day livelihood. So, like say for agriculture, medical, pharmaceutical, fashion, tourism, all depends on plants for their success. So biodiversity also helps in combating the climate change. So 11% of global greenhouse gases are emitted because of deforestation. So conserving forest would stop the release of these gases into the atmosphere. So like say some of the ecosystems like say mangroves, wetland, okay, they in fact though their importance not realized, but they are very good at keeping carbon out of the atmosphere by storing it. Okay, and like say forests and wetlands, okay, they provide a very say they play a very important role in buffering to, say for extreme storms, flooding, okay, and which are in fact related to the climate change. So these ecosystems function best when all the pieces of the ecosystems are in place, or you can say all the species are in place. Okay, it means in nutshell we can say biodiversity is intact. Okay, so many researchers prove that disease outbreak are closely linked to the role to the loss of biodiversity. So 70% of emerging viral disease have spread from animals to humans. And with the ever increasing urbanization, agriculture, and wildlife trade, humans are venturing deeper into the forest. Okay, and ultimately this venturing deeper in the forest, okay, exposing humans to many diseases that wild animals in these forests may carry. And these wild animals, in fact, they are immune, they have been evolved, okay, say, and so that's why they are immune to such diseases. But to say humans are not, okay, humans are not immune to such diseases, okay. And in fact, the example we all know, like say COVID-19, okay, it can say it is now well established that it is spread, okay, to the humans from some wild animals, okay. So in that way, with this COVID-19 or ongoing this pandemic issue, okay, in fact we have seen that diseases can damage not only say human health but also the global economy. Okay, so it means by protecting biodiversity we can prevent future pandemic from claiming life and money. Okay, so biodiversity in fact uh, uh, also helps in preserving social and cultural diversity and identity. Species, in fact, they are integral to religious, cultural, and national identities. Okay, so all major religions include elements of nature, like say whether you take the Jainism, Hinduism, or and Buddhism, or Islam. Okay, so in one way or other way, okay, there are connections with the nature, with the say some certain species, like say 231 species are formally used as national symbols in 142 countries. So it means preserving biodiversity is also ethically and morally important for us. So very quickly, I'll go I'll mention about say ecosystem services and biodiversity conservation. So what does it mean ecosystem services? So human societies drive many essential goods from natural ecosystem, including seafood, game animals, fodder, fuel wood, timber, and pharmaceutical products. So these goods represent important and familiar parts of the economy. Okay, so ecosystem services are the benefits. That is a sort of formal definition. Benefits people obtain from ecosystem. Ecosystem services are values to humanity that are provided by natural or managed ecosystems. So managed ecosystem may be providing only a few ecosystem services, but natural ecosystem, okay, with a lot of species, or you can say biodiversity rich, they provide many ecosystem services. So these services have been essential to human welfare, so for almost 1,000 of years. Okay, earlier, in fact, since the resources were plenty, population was less. Okay, so the importance of services was not realized. But nowadays, in fact, in say a few decades, say from 1980s or so, okay, the ecosystems, the importance of ecosystem services have been realized. In fact, and these are two say definitions given by Daly and Costanza about the ecosystem services. So there are 4 types of ecosystem services. Okay, like say provisioning services, regulating services, cultural services, and supporting services. So provisioning services, like say providing they are well known, very well known. Say we go for a provisioning store or grocery store to get our food. Okay, here in fact the ecosystem, they provide the food. Okay, like say fisheries. Okay, or many say grains, whatever you can imagine. Okay, those are available, or cloth, everything. Okay, so for say the greater the store is the nature for providing such services. And like say ecosystem also regulate say many processes. Okay, and that is why we have say we like say by controlling the pollution, etc., providing say oxygen, and like say reducing the carbon dioxide concentration, and say protecting the floods. Okay, and say storm, etc. Okay, purifying the water, and many more. Okay, and say cultural services. Okay, like say whenever we are stressed or we want to get relaxed, we normally go to near the nature, or we take the education tour. So education tour, okay, it's not simply say studying the nature, but also like say we get refreshed. Okay, we interact with the student, and so, and the say it is away from the classroom. Okay, so the bonding in fact get it's enhanced. Okay, expanded, and the students, they don't in fact they don't hesitate. Okay, they become more open. Okay, and supporting services, in fact, like say those are supporting all these 3 services. And these supporting services, sometimes they are also termed as a habitat services. Okay, so biodiversity and ecosystem services. Why this topic matters now? The reason, in fact, why this topic matters now, because our ecosystems, they have been degraded. So once it means how they have been degraded. It means the biodiversity is directly, you can say, or indirectly, ecosystems get degraded when biodiversity is at the risk. Okay, so they are interlinked. Biodiversity and ecosystem services, they are interlinked. Okay, so once biodiversity is threatened, it means ecosystem services also get declined. And during few decades, so many of these ecosystem, whether say terrestrial, aquatic, marine, whatever, okay, or the grassland, or they say mangrove or wetland, okay. So every ecosystem play is unique role, okay, and all the say biodiversity in all these ecosystems has been say at their risk because of over harvesting or for many other reasons, and that is why there is a sharp decline in ecosystem services, and that's the reason why this topic is more important to discuss. Okay, so like say our ecosystems, okay, or the biodiversity provide a lot of material, okay, like say genetic and biochemical and so, okay, so and accordingly, in fact, the say we get say a lot of economy, but like say here is one sort of say you can say dilemma. The countries, those are rich in biodiversity, they are poor in biotechnology, and countries those are rich in biotechnology, they are poor in biodiversity. Okay, so like say you take European countries or North America, they don't have much biodiversity, only a few species because of harsh harsh conditions like temperate conditions. Okay, but say tropical countries, okay, they have lot of biodiversity, but they are not as equipped, okay, in terms of biotechnology. So there is a flow of say biodiversity, okay, to the biotechnological regions or the countries, but in the same manner, the flow of biotechnology is not there, okay, from say biotechnological rich country to the say biodiversity rich countries. Okay, so there are in fact we can make say 4 windows. Okay, so there are say 2 or 3 countries. Okay, like say China. In fact, already it has reached in that window. Okay, that biodiversity rich and biotechnologically also rich. Okay, that is in few say in last 2 decades, you can say it qualifies that it's rich in biodiversity as well as in biotechnology. Like we as a India, okay, we have that opportunity. We have a rich biodiversity, and in fact we are marching, okay, to be biotechnologically also rich. Malaysia and Indonesia, they also have this opportunity, okay, being the biodiversity rich, and they are in fact marching toward the biotechnologically rich. Okay, so but I think say many say like US and so they have already in fact tagged our biodiversity. Okay, they have obtained the say patent like say for neem, haldi, and so many other things. Okay, but in fact the owner are the say developing countries like say India and so. Okay, so anyway, so like say human being have utilized around 7,000 plant species for food over the course of history, and another 70,000 plants are known to have edible parts. Only about 150 food plants have ever been cultivated on a large scale. So currently 82 plant species contribute 90% of national per capita supplies of food plants. Okay, so anyway, turning to medicinal resources, a recent survey showed that of the top 150 prescriptions, prescriptions used in the United States, 118 are based on natural sources, like 74% on plants, 18% on fungi, 5% on bacteria, and 3% on one, say, vertebrates like snake species, like, okay, like say for anti-venom or so. So 9 of the top 10 drugs in this list are based on natural plant products. So looking at the global picture, approximately 80% of the human population relies on traditional medicine, uh, medical systems, and about 80% of traditional medicine involves the use of plant extracts. So during this, in fact, pandemic era, okay, in fact, such medicines, they have become very important to say boost the immunity. So these are some say facts, although I'm not going to say discuss. These are some biodiversity facts. In fact, okay. Then you can see the loss of biodiversity, so threat of extinction, and how many say 1 out of 8 bird species, 1 out of 3 amphibian species, they are facing the extinction. 1 out of 4 mammal species, okay. 1 out of say 4 conifer species, 6 out of 7 marine turtle species, okay. So and many of say genetic diversity has also been lost, okay. So how does in fact the biodiversity loss affect our health? So we depend on biodiversity and healthy ecosystem for our health and survival. So healthy communities rely on well-functioning and biodiverse ecosystems. So these biodiverse, say, rich ecosystem, in fact, they provide clean air, fresh water, medicines, food and nutrition security, and support critical ecosystem functions and services. So healthy and biodiverse ecosystems also limit the emergence and spread of disease and stabilize the climate. So then again, biodiversity is also an important source of genetic resources for the development of many treatment, vaccines, and a range of biotechnology products used in both modern and say traditional medicines, as well as agriculture and industry. Okay, so for example, these includes like say artemisinin as a treatment for malaria, and digitalis for heart disease, okay, like say Taxol, okay, extracted from the Texas Valley Chiana, okay, seismic acid extracted from the say Elysium grypti, and many more, okay, many more. These are say only a few examples, okay. So how do biodiversity loss and environmental degradation affect the emergence of infectious diseases? Okay, so biodiversity loss, ecosystem degradation, and disease share many common drivers, like say human disturbance of ecosystems and biodiversity loss are increasingly linked to the occurrence and risk of diseases, spread of genetic and vector-borne disease. So now, in fact, say research has been initiated in many of the research institute and say and the universities, okay, to somehow to correlate with genetic and vector disease borne, okay, diseases, okay, how say they are linked with the human disturbance and the say of the ecosystem and the say biodiversity loss. So in many instances, climate change act as a threat multiplier, okay, So means as the climate is changing, sometimes like say it's really say lot of say disability. Okay, the fluctuations. It's not only the warming. Even say when it should be the temperature should be say on an average normal. Sometimes it's too say maybe high. Sometimes it's low. Okay, so it is important to note that infectious diseases arise from a combination of ecological, social, and economic pressures that combine to amplify disease risk rather than any individual driver acting in isolation. Okay, so like say this year, uh, normally it is called say in say no tapa, means 9 days the temperature goes high, maybe say like in central India and Buddhist countries, and also in many of the regions crosses more than 45, touch 48 or so. But this year hardly it has gone more than 40. So that is in fact something related to the climate change. It's not say always it is at that high temperature. That is called global warming. But climate change, okay, it is a sort of fluctuation, say higher to the higher side or to the lower side. Okay, so these are some examples of anthropogenic environmental changes that affect the emergence, occurrence, or risk of infected diseases. Okay, so you can see this here, like type of environmental change, example of disease, and pathway of risk changes. Okay, so there are many examples you can see over here. Okay, so does environmental degradation cause the emergence of new disease? Yes, we can say yes. Like it is, say, stressed environmental condition can significantly alter disease patterns of emerging and re-emerging infectious disease and compromise the resilience of the system as a whole. It is just like say if somebody say it's even the human being. Okay, if you are say if you are somebody is stressed, okay, then this stress condition invite, okay, many diseases like say maybe increase in the blood pressure, then maybe increase in the sugar, okay, or thyroid, and so that is the impact of this say stress. Okay, so in the same manner, say if the ecosystem is stressed, like say it is facing say disturbances, okay, then certainly okay it's become stress. Okay, and such stress condition in fact invite, okay, say emerging and re-emerging diseases, because those say plant and animals, okay, since they are the part of the say ecosystem, they get stressed, then they are in fact susceptible, okay, to such type of diseases. And from those ecosystems, these diseases, okay, they certainly come to the human. Okay, so here we can see drivers of recently emerging infectious diseases in human, that is say in percent. So the on the top in fact is the land use changes, then food industry, okay, human susceptibility to say infection, agriculture industry. Okay, so you can see like say a different say changes, okay, the drivers, okay, and then see the how the diseases are emerging, okay, in human. So biodiversity and sustainable development, okay. So in fact, the integration of sustainability and biodiversity. So the relationship between sustainability and the conservation of biodiversity has been slowly evolving. Okay, here I'm emphasizing slowly evolving. Okay, and in some cases, sustainability objectives have been viewed as a incompatible. Okay, means the pace is not as it is desired. It's very slow. Okay, so anyway, these are the say links between the ecosystem restoration and sustainable development goals. That those are called as SDGs. Okay, so and say restoration helps in achieving the sustainable development goals, okay, in many ways, like say restoration of various ecosystem, increase in ecosystem services and productivity, and ultimately achieving sustainable development goal. Okay, how? Like say this restoration of various ecosystem, like say land, forest, grassland, rivers, estuaries, lakes, and ultimately that increase the ecosystem services and productivity, and ultimately say increase in the income, increase in the food supply, and we say achieve sustainable development goals like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, life on land, and cleaner water, say sanitation, life below water, sustainable communities. These are all okay sustainable goals. Okay, so the step towards say rebuilding, so becoming say generation restoration, like say ecosystem restoration for people, nature and climate. So there has never been a more urgent need to revive damaged ecosystem than now. Okay, so we should not get puzzled. Okay, we can build and achieve, say, and do better, in fact. Okay, like say how say different ecosystems they are under pressure, like say farmland, forest. Here you can see the values. Okay, fresh water, then grassland, shrub lands and savannas. Okay, and say mountains, oceans and coast, peatlands, urban. Okay, so you can see how they are under pressure. Okay, so anyway, the Das Gupta report identifies investment in ecosystems to boost the supply of their services as essential for a transition to a sustainable economic development pathways. Okay, so in fact that these are say like healthy restored ecosystem provide many benefits. Okay, you can see here. Okay, health and welfare, food security, biodiversity and economy. Okay, again say ecosystem restoration, like say help in climate adaptation, climate change mitigation, water security, and of course water and security. Okay, so then restoring degraded ecosystem has tremendous potential to advance the achievements of all sustainable goals. Okay, so maybe the slide may not be very clear to. Okay, but we can say these are some example from the around the world, example again from around the world. Okay, so anyway, these are some say restoration approaches. Okay, in different part of the world. Okay, in different ecosystems. Okay, so and these are some say guiding principle for the UN decade in ecosystem restorations. Okay, and restoration initiatives around the world. Okay, and in conclusion, okay, these are some say key messages around say 7 messages. Okay, so let us see some success stories of ecosystem restoration from India. So India has restored an area of 9.8 million hectares since 2011, of which 94.4% are contributed by government agencies, while 3.6% and 2% are contributed by these surveyed NGOs and private companies, respectively. Okay, so like say Yamuna Biodiversity Park represents one of the remarkable success stories of the ecosystem restoration of degraded land and example of environmental conservation in India. Okay, then cut root stock method was initially adapted for the eradication of Lantana camera, in Corbett National Park, because lantana camera, in fact, all over the country, affecting many of the ecosystem, including the protected areas. Of course, there are many other such invasive species, like in Northeast, Mycenium macrantha is very, very notorious weed. Okay, so then here, in fact, I'll just show one of my student, Professor Lal Bihari Singha. Now he's professor at, earlier he was my colleague, at Arunachal Pradesh at NARIST. He did PhD with me on, bamboo. Now he is a professor in, life sciences at Manipur University. Now with his knowledge or with his training, on bamboo propagation and flowering and so he has taken up restoration work in degraded lands in Manipur. Okay, you can see how it is. So in fact, this restoration work or the exercise was done on Saturday of this 5th June. Okay, and so yesterday only he shared this video with me. Okay, so I thought it's better to show. Okay, so but just see this picture. These pictures say a lot. Okay, probably I need not to explain. Okay, so in fact, restoration should not follow such type of trends. Okay, it's raining but it's still watering. Okay, just for the purpose of photograph. Okay, so this pseudo activities are not going to help us. Okay, so these are some related publications of ecosystem restoration from our group. Okay. This is our movement. We cannot turn back time, but we can grow trees, green our cities, rewild our gardens, change our diets, and clean up rivers and coast. We are the generation that can make peace with nature. Let's get active, not anxious. Let's be bold, not timid. Everybody living on this planet in this moment in time can be a part of generation restoration. Okay, so anyway, thank you very much. Okay, so if you have any question, please you can ask.